Shah. Just a bit about me. I'm a clinical and a lifestyle nutritionist. I've done my undergrad in food, nutrition and dietetics and my master's in clinical nutrition. I believe in translating complex nutritional science to simple, easy, practical life-changing tips and lifestyle changes. So adolescent nutrition is a very fascinating topic because so many kids at this age go through critical lifestyle changes and hormonal changes. So today, the nutrition you fuel them with determines their body for the rest of their lives. So it is a very critical period of growth after infancy. So let's get right into it. But before that, I just want to get a raise of hands who all have kids between 10 to 19 years. All of you all? Okay, perfect. Adolescence is the period between 10 to 19 years where so many hormonal, physical, emotional changes occur. It is critical because there's a lot of hormonal development, specifically estrogen and progesterone when it comes to girls and testosterone when it comes to boys. Bone density and peak bone mass. 90% of your bone density is developed in this age. That means the nutrition that you supply in this age determines how strong your bones are for the rest of your lives. So right now it's very important to focus on good nutrition to ensure that good bone development and bone density occurs. Children recover very quickly at this age. Yes, they do, but also if not fueled with the right sources, those injuries can be detrimental even in the future. Mood and brain development. A lot of hormones, like I said, are being released that affect their mood, make them feel more irritated or make them feel very excited quickly. And their brain fully develops by this age. And long-term metabolic and reproductive health that I will be touching upon in a bit. So fundamentals of nutrition. Now nutrition is very individualized and very personalized. No two people, no two twins as well have the same metabolism. Their bodies process things differently, they digest food differently, they utilize the food digested very differently. So nutrition has to be very individualized. However, there are certain fundamentals that are very important to keep in mind. So calories, we all know, calories come from protein, fat and carbohydrates. Protein and carbohydrates have 4 kilocalories per gram, but fat has about 9 kilocalories per gram. So of course, you're getting a lot more calories and a lot more energy through fat. Protein. Now of course, we all know protein is very important for brain development, muscle development. Non-veg sources of protein are so many. There's meat, there's fish, there's eggs. But vegetarian sources of protein are a little limited, and in those limited amount, the quantities are lower. So of course, your dals, your pulses, beans, chickpeas, soy, they all have great sources of protein. But what you may not know is, for example, you take moong and you sprout that moong and then you make moong ka dal, you make moong chaat, that doubles the amount of protein in the moong. So when you sprout it, it breaks down all the complex proteins that is in it and it becomes more available for your body to absorb. So that is doubling the amount of protein. So that's a quick hack and a quick technique just to double the amount of protein in the same bowl of dal. Now coming to carbohydrates. There are two main types of carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are your bread, your pasta. Complex carbohydrates are jawar, bajra, oats. Fats are extremely important. Giving your body omega-3 rich sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, edamame, those are great sources of omega-3 that your brain needs for its development. And vitamin A, D, E and K, those are absorbed in your body through fat. So if you don't have fat, if you think fat makes you fat, that's not true. Having good fat helps in absorption of these nutrients, helps in your brain development, gives that luster to your skin because it locks in all that moisture, it prevents dryness and it gives you that luster to your skin. Now coming to micronutrients, they're kind of like the unsung heroes of your body. They help in all these processes. So bone development, immunity, everything happens with micronutrients. Indians and specifically vegetarians have a deficiency of B12 and D3 very commonly. So those are the tests you'll want to check on every 6 months, every 12 months to ensure that your child is not deficient in B12 and D3, and if they are, then it's very necessary to supplement them after showing them to a professional. Now moving on to puberty in girls. So there are several hormonal changes, specifically estrogen, progesterone, the luteinizing hormone, growth hormone and cortisol. These lead to several changes in body fat. You can see that near the abdominal region, girls tend to gain a lot of fat because of these hormones, because of estrogen. Growth spurt happens. The onset of menstruation and your menstrual cycle starts at this stage. Your appetite increases because your body's metabolic needs significantly increase. The amount of activity they do and the amount of calories your body burns increases. So the amount of calories and the amount of nutrition your body requires also does increase. Mood changes. So cortisol is a hormone that increases when you're feeling anxious. So when that increases, of course, there are so many mood changes. Feeling anxious or when cortisol is released, it restricts insulin, it restricts your appetite. So when people feel stressed, they tend to not eat. Now coming to nutrition during puberty for girls. Like I mentioned, healthy fat is very important. I did talk about it, so I'm not going to touch upon it again. And so is protein. Now, iron is something that is so important. Your body, especially a girl's body between these ages in adolescence, requires about 16 to 18 milligrams of iron every single day, not accounting for losses. Now think about it, during puberty, during your menstrual cycle, girls lose about 1 to up to 8 milligrams every single day in their menstrual cycle. So when your body requires about 16 to 18 grams, not accounting for losses, and your body is having so many losses through the menstrual cycle, it is very important to supplement your body with good iron sources, either that or supplements. But iron sources through food are, so of course a lot of meat, but apart from that, even green leafy vegetables, beans are great in iron. But the trick with that is if you pair it with a vitamin C source, like lemon, or you have it with oranges on the side, or you add tomatoes to it, that increases iron absorption in your body. Now coming to calcium and vitamin D, like I said, peak bone mass is developed during this age. So having calcium rich sources, giving your child dairy, giving your child mushrooms because that's a great source of vitamin D, or taking supplements is a great way to do this. Especially if you want to increase vitamin D, one of the quickest ways to do it is telling your child to step out in the sunlight. Now we've heard about it a lot, but your body on its layer has vitamin D, but has it in its inactive form. So when your child steps out in the sun, plays in the sun for about 2 to 3 hours every day, that vitamin D is activated and your body can use that vitamin D. That's the quickest way to get it without having anything extra, without doing anything else. Just let your child play in the sun for 2 to 3 hours. And last is magnesium. Magnesium is very important for muscle contraction, muscle relaxation. Magnesium sources are banana, almonds, even dark chocolate and cocoa for that matter. But magnesium can be very, very helpful when your child is going through stomach cramps, especially during the menstrual cycle, because it relaxes those muscles and makes your child feel better. Now coming to puberty in boys, there are 4 main hormones that do increase and change in boys. One is testosterone. The second is androgen. Testosterone is an androgen hormone, but there are a couple of more that come under androgens as well. Growth hormone and cortisol. All of these result in an increase in muscle mass. They cause a growth spurt. Again, increased appetite because their needs have increased so much. Mood changes, hair growth, oily skin and acne, and changes in sleep. Their nutrition is, of course, different. So they require more carbohydrates because their body firstly has different energy needs in comparison to a girl. And secondly, their activity levels tend to be higher. So you want to give them simple carbohydrates before they're going for maybe a football match, or before they're going to play. You want to give them bananas or a toast or yogurt. But in the whole day, you want to give them complex carbohydrates. You want to give them oats, you want to give them bajra roti, you want to give them chickpeas. Those are complex carbohydrates that will sustain their energy throughout the day. The second is protein, of course, extremely important, like I mentioned. Zinc. Zinc is very important to increase their testosterone production. Now at this age, it is important to do that because their needs are higher from their body. Their energy levels need to be higher and their muscle mass needs to grow. For their muscle mass to grow and develop properly, their testosterone needs to be higher. So for that, zinc is a great source to give them. Now iron. Now iron, of course, is important for boys as well, especially because their energy and activity levels are so high, so that they don't feel fatigue. Having iron is very important. So when you have iron, your red blood cells increase their oxygenation in the body. That means their chances of feeling fatigue or feeling dizzy when they're playing these activities and sports are much lower. Then calcium and vitamin D, like I said, very important for bone development. Now, food to limit during puberty. The first is caffeine. So having coffee after 18 also is not something I would always say to have, but I would never tell you to completely cut out a food group. But till they're 18, till they're 19, limit caffeine as much as possible, not more than 100 milligrams of caffeine a day. And even that's a lot. Like I would recommend not more than 50 milligrams of caffeine a day. During this stage, anyway, your cortisol levels are very high. And it increases and triggers that. So your child tends to feel more anxious and you don't want them to get dependent on caffeine at this stage.
What about decaf?
So decaf, they say it's decaf, but it has very little caffeine in it. As long as it's under 100 mg, it's still fine. But as much as possible, try to restrict it. Now, ultra processed food, it has a lot of sugar that we all know, but it has a lot of salt as well. Now, salt being imbalanced, it creates an imbalance in your electrolyte level. Carbohydrate loading and restriction. So, having too many carbohydrates or completely restricting carbohydrates because you think it'll make you gain weight or it'll give you more acne is also not recommended, because this can either delay or it can speed in your menstrual cycle and puberty. It also, having too many carbohydrates will lead to excess weight gain, but not having enough carbohydrates will lead to you feeling undernourished. Now, adolescent athletes. How many of y'all have kids that are into sports? Oh, y'all are into sports as well. Great. Okay, great. So this is very important. Their caloric needs almost double because they're in sports. Their energy output is way higher. So about 500 to 1000 kilocalories a day in excess of what they generally require for their age is needed when they're playing a sport. This prevents fatigue. It also helps with better recovery when you have good calories. It also prevents any injury and it prevents delayed puberty. Now coming to adequate pre and post sport fueling. Now pre-sport fueling and post-sport fueling varies based on the sport. Usually pre-sport fueling requires carbohydrates because that gives you that instant boost of energy, and proteins, that muscle contraction, your muscles are used well without it feeling tired or without you getting a muscle pull or aches and pains in your muscles. And post-sport, you also do need to have a lot of carbohydrates because your glycogen stores are depleted and they're used, and protein. Now what about fat? Fat is extremely important, but not right before. You want to have it about 2 to 3 hours before, because like I said, fat has the highest kilocalories in comparison to protein and carbohydrates. But if you have it right before, it can make you feel a little sluggish. Your movement will be a little slower. But if you have it 2 to 3 hours before, it'll give you that sustained boost of energy for 3 hours after you have it. So do not ignore fat. Let's talk about a specific sport. Do you want to tell me what?
Basketball.
Okay, so basketball does require more quicker boost of energy. Right before your sport, you want to give your child, for example, toast with honey or yogurt or a banana. That gives your child that instant boost of energy. But after that, you want to give them more complex carbohydrates. So give them chickpeas or give them oats chilla. Give them something like that with more carbohydrates that are complex and mixed, not just a bread, because that again gives you like instant energy. You want to replenish all their stores that have been broken down through their sport. Now coming to protein supplementation. Protein supplementation is not something I would recommend for children specifically at this age, because your body can only tolerate and utilize about 20 grams of protein in each meal. And usually these protein powders have about 25-26 grams of protein. So if you give your child that, your child's body won't be able to utilize all that protein. Protein can also be stored as fat when it's in excess. So then that will be stored as fat. So make sure to not give your child protein supplementation. For their age, regular diet itself can give them enough protein. And now fat distribution. So like I said, fat is very important. It's important if you're playing a sport. It's important if you're not playing a sport. But distributing fat throughout the day ensures that it's not stored as fat in your body, which is important. So giving your child a good amount of fat in breakfast, lunch and dinner, instead of just giving them a great chunk of fat in dinner, is a lot better. So when you distribute it, your body can actually use it and use it as energy instead of storing it. Now, micronutrient supplementation. Like I mentioned, having B12, D3 very important, but other micronutrients are also important to prevent deficiencies, and if you have a deficiency, to help you recover from that. Now, hydration and electrolyte balance. Like I said, electrolyte balance extremely important, but equally important is having enough water in the day. There was a very interesting study that was done where children, young adults, were given a cup of glucose, like sugar water, and a cup of regular water. And their brain activity was checked after that. So after they had the sugar water, their dopamine sensors in the brain increased. That means they got a quick hit of that satisfaction, and then again it stooped down. Then they again wanted more sweet things. They were craving more sugar. But when they had water, the hippocampus, which is responsible for concentration in your brain, that area activated. So that basically just goes to show that if your child is studying or if your child is going for an exam, keep telling them to sip on water. Don't give them a chocolate in the middle. That is not required. Having water will activate the centers of their brain that are responsible for concentration. Okay, so now let's talk about PCOS. This is specific to girls. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a common hormonal condition that causes tiny cysts in your ovaries. Now, this is caused due to a hormonal imbalance in reproductive hormones. If you may have heard, when I spoke about male hormones, I spoke about androgen. Androgen is a male hormone. When that increases in females, it leads to PCOS. Now, all male hormones, like dominant, predominant hormones like androgen, testosterone, those are also present in females. And female hormones like estrogen and progesterone are also present in males, but in very low quantities. So when that increases in females, when a male hormone increases in females, it leads to PCOS. PCOS is something that can most definitely be controlled and reversed through your lifestyle. It is not a disease that stays with you forever. This is something that can be controlled, especially if caught at a very early stage. These cysts are immature follicles that don't tend to mature. So because of that, there are several things that happen. The first is irregular and missed periods. So usually your menstrual cycle occurs every single month. When you miss periods, irregular periods, it's not directly a sign of PCOS, but it is something you need to look out for. Very heavy periods, because it doesn't come for a long time, and then when it comes, the flow is a lot. Persistent hormonal acne, excess facial or body hair, weight gain, especially in your abdominal area, thinning hair or like thinning of your scalp, inflammation. Now, if you have or if you can notice any three of these, it's very likely that your child has PCOS. These are the tests that need to be done for PCOS. Now, these are just the basic baseline tests that should be done. Once we profile your child, we do say that, okay, maybe insulin sensitivity tests are required, glucose tests are required. So those are additional tests, but these are the basic tests that should be done for PCOS. Now, we're coming to the end of the presentation, but this is a very important topic, which is your child's relationship with their food. This is the age where their brain is very malleable. Anything you teach them, it will stick with them throughout their lives. So the gut-brain axis is a very real phenomenon. It's essentially when anything you eat gets broken down, that affects how your brain perceives it. That affects the release of certain hormones like cortisol or other hormones that create emotion. So the way you think affects your gut, and your gut affects the way you think as well. Like when you're stressed or feeling any negative emotion, your brain goes into fight or flight response. That means the blood flow is away from your stomach and it goes more to your muscles, because your body is ready to fight. Your body is ready to react to that stress, that anxiety. And when it goes away from your stomach and your digestive system, your digestion reduces. There's indigestion, you feel constipated, there's a lot of gas, or like your stomach just cramps up. But when you relax, when you have more positive emotions, when you actually pay attention to your food and have it with a good mindset, that triggers the rest and digest response by your body. So your body is relaxed, your body's like blood flow is toward your stomach and your digestive system, and your food is being digested well. Now, second is avoid labeling or characterizing food. So when you label food as good or bad, right now you might think it's okay, but later that tends to develop into a more fixed mindset. So your child may feel like, okay, this food is bad, it leads to weight gain, I just don't want to eat it. And then at some point, of course, your child will end up eating that food, be it at a party or be it with a friend. And when they eat it, they'll feel like, okay, this is making me fat, and they keep eating that food with that intention. And because of that, your body is not being able to digest the food because your thoughts affect how your food is digested. So avoid labeling or characterizing food as good or bad. Explain to them what the food does to their body. Like, explain to them that if you have an avocado instead of a fried food, the avocado is going to help with your brain development, your skin will feel more lustrous, your vitamins will be absorbed in your body. But if you have something fried, you're going to feel more lethargic. They'll be stored as fat in your body. That won't be used as energy in your body. So explain that to them instead of just saying, okay, this food is good, this food is bad. Then the third is encouraging balanced meals and no food restriction. Like, we don't want to say don't have it, because like when you say don't have this, your child wants to have it even more. So give it to them once in a while, but explain to them the downsides of having it so that they realize when they're having it what can happen when they have it. Once in a while, having anything including coffee, if you have it once in 2 weeks, having boba once in 2 weeks is not going to like be very detrimental to your body, but having it every day will be detrimental to your body. So just explain that to them. The fourth is discourage calorie counting and protein obsession. This happens a lot at later stages in life, but it starts from now, especially with social media, the way like other children speak to each other. Children can get very obsessive with, if they feel a little more image conscious or body conscious, they can get very obsessive with calorie counting. With each food they eat, they might just be like, okay, like this has too many calories, I don't want to eat it. But that takes away from the experience of eating. Food is meant to be enjoyed. You're meant to enjoy food. Food is not meant, of course it's there to nourish you, but if you enjoy it, it is going to nourish you. And if you understand the benefit of the food you're eating, it's going to nourish you even more because you know that it's doing good to your body, you're going to want to have it. So enjoy eating that healthy food instead of trying to count the calories or count the protein. And the last is promote family meals and conscious eating. It's very underrated how much role modeling can affect how a child perceives their food. So if they say you trying new foods, they want to try new foods. So encourage them to try a variety of different foods. And conscious eating is very important. If your child is watching TV or playing a game or playing with something, they're not focusing on the food they're eating. That means either they're overeating because they're focusing on something else, so they keep like putting food in their mouth, or they're undereating because they're so distracted with what they're watching or doing that they're not focusing on the fact that they have food in front of them. So give them TV, give them all that, just tell them to focus on the food that they're eating. And lastly, I do think food is an experience. It is supposed to be enjoyed, and if you eat it well, it's going to do a lot more good to your body than harm. So yeah, with that I'm done, but I would open the podium to questions.